welcome to the energy update for this new moon, this new lunar cycle, beginning the 23rd of February to the 23rd of March. So this actually is a really lovely month, I feel. There's a lot of positivity coming through, I feel, for the whole group, for our whole soul group. And then the first thing to say is that this new moon is in Pisces. So when we think of Pisces, we think of like the watery depths of the ocean. We think about, or we sense, or kind of tap into our intuition. It's to do with reconnection to spirit. And it's very, very ethereal. So the thing with the Pisces, the thing just to be slightly aware of for this month is just sometimes going into illusion over things, or being deceived, or something along those lines. So just be slightly aware of that, but as a whole, it really is going to support you to tap more into your intuition, tap more into your psyche, which is really interesting because clairvoyancy came up for the group, and also what came up was this sense for this month that there is a talent triangle astrologically that's going on, and that this is going to really support us to unlock those gifts and talents. Now, I feel with it being in Pisces, and also because clairvoyancy already came up, I do feel like your psychic gifts are going to come up more to the surface. Now, the thing to say is that we are also now in Mercury Retrograde, and we'll be in Mercury Retrograde up until around the 10th of March. So what that means is that there's a huge rebirthing going on for our soul tribe this month, and even though it's a very powerful rebirthing, and even though it's going to be unlocking, I believe, some psychic abilities within you, you're not necessarily going to connect to that straight away. It's like the seed's been planted, the potential is there, but you're not really going to experience the blossoming of it. And that's partly because of Mercury being retrograde. So it's really very much that Piscean energy of it's very ethereal. It's about faith and trust that is kind of blossoming within you, but it's still in your inner world and hasn't yet come out into your everyday physical reality. But there is absolutely that talent triangle there, which is like a triangle between the new moon, which is all the new beginnings, right? And Mars and Uranus. So there's a lot of positive energy flowing, and a real opportunity to unlock some of those gifts, some of those psychic gifts that you hold within you, which is really going to be lovely. I feel we'll have to see how that develops over the next few months, but probably this month you won't experience it, but you may well experience like an inner knowing, but it won't be really coming through so much. So this month is very, very much a rebirth. And the scarab came through, and so it's very much going to be around bringing through the new, rebirthing into the new through the heart and at a very deep cellular level. And so to enable that to happen, we're going to have to clear any fears and any subconscious emotions that are related to our birthing process. So every time you go through a rebirthing process, you will kind of go through any unprocessed birth trauma, whether it's from this lifetime or past lifetime, because you're literally rebirthing. So if you do experience any grief or any fear coming up this month, just know that it's because you're going through a rebirthing process. And I would highly recommend doing the rebirthing meditation. There's 2 of them that I'm going to put on the recommendation list for the month, because I feel that's going to really support you as you go through that rebirthing process. If you do feel any fear or anxiety or stress or tension coming up and you're not quite sure where it's coming from, it could well be coming from this rebirthing aspect that's coming through. Now, the thing with the rebirthing energy is it really supports to clear a lot of restrictions and limitations that you've held deep down at a cellular level. That's the real gift going through that rebirthing process, and it really supports a lot of more positivity, a lot more positive flow, abundance and manifestation through that process, which is always great, right? So as long as you're able to go through that birthing process and clear what you need to clear, you're going to be able to clear those restrictions on that next level that are coming up for you. And that's going to then bring in a lot more good luck as well as good fortune and manifestation through that process, which is wonderful. So ultimately, what the scarab supports us to do is to understand that we are the co-creators. It's like you're not going to manifest outside of yourself. Your manifestation process and your ability to co-create with the goddess is completely to do with what's going on internally for you. So the more you can clear those restrictions from within you, and often they're very subconscious, and this is what's going to come up for you, I feel, in this process, and that's the gift just in itself. It's going to support you to release those restrictions, release those limitations that you've held on a deeply subconscious level, and that will allow more manifestation, more flow to come through you. Now, the other energy that came in very strongly was the wolf, which is why I have the wolf picture behind us. Now, it's really interesting because I am, working through the Destiny Mastery program with my first cohort of beautiful soul goddess coming through with that. And the Destiny Mastery process basically ultimately ends with the Crystal Merkaba journey to the subterranean chamber, the Pyramid of Giza. So we are leading up to that process and this activation, and the Pyramid of Giza actually sits on the world chakra for the throat. So I always find it fascinating how everything sort of comes and blends in together, and there's how synchronistic everything is. So I feel that's coming through a lot. Now, the wolf energy is very powerful, and it really talks about ancient codes and about sharing your wisdom and your knowledge that's linked to your lineage, your spiritual lineage. So it's really about the teacher. We have to really be able to open the whole of the throat chakra and work within the deep levels of your throat chakra to enable that connection to occur. So within this healing, there was a lot of work, like etheric surgery, all around the throat chakra, really supporting the opening up the throat chakra to enable you to connect up more to your higher self, but then to also express, verbally express what you're feeling, what you're sensing, and to be able to express it in such a way that it's pure. It's coming via your higher self, and you're like an inspiration to others. So you're the teacher. You become the teacher through that. But this channel of connectivity to your higher self and how it expresses through your throat chakra vocally, and now when I talk about it expressing vocally, it can be audible, but it can also be inaudible as well, because there's different frequencies that you can hear, but there's also frequencies that you can't hear as well. So it really helps you to access the ancient Akashic records that enable you to really read the lands and read everything that's gone on through that process. And it also, when you look at the wolf like howling at the moon, it really connects you to your psychic energy. So again, we're seeing that energy of Pisces coming through, and also the gifts, those gifts and talents that I feel are connected to your psyche coming through more in this month. Also, there's a feeling of, and I feel that Mercury Retrograde really kind of facilitates that process, because there can be a lot of miscommunication that can happen with when it's Mercury retrogrades, which is so interesting when we've got the wolf come up, which is all around the throat. So we can really see how Mercury retrograde is supporting us to clear what we need to clear. So it's almost pushing us to stop, go in, be still, and connect with what's important to us, and connect to what's really going on, and connect to a higher self and that wisdom, that wisdom that you hold in your spiritual lineage. So I feel that's really important, and really supporting you to really ground in. And so Mercury in retrograde, things can go a little bit funky at times, like electromagnetically things can go a bit weird, travel organisation can go a bit weird, as can emails not work, all of that sort of thing, or miscommunication, like you said something, someone didn't understand it and took it a different way, and it's everything all around communication. So in a way, sometimes when things aren't flowing smoothly for you, sometimes that's a sign just to stop, just to slow down, and to ground, and just be patient, just be patient with what's going on, and know that these things will pass. And also, in that patience with this turtle energy, it's really supporting you to also birth more creative gifts as well that may be coming through with you in all of that. Also, another energy that came through very strongly, one of the crystal energies that came through strongly actually was fulgurite. And fulgurite comes through, or is formed when lightning, so again we've got that electromagnetic energy there, when lightning comes through and hits the sand, and it creates like a tube. It's a really interesting crystal. And so it's a hollow. And so it's a real communication crystal. And so again, this theme of communication, working with the throat chakra, and connecting up to the spiritual realms, which again is Pisces coming in there. So Fulgurite is that channel. It supports you to be that channel for the goddess, to be that channel, that bridge, as it were, between the spiritual realms and between the spiritual realms and the physical realm. So that crystal came through, as also did the amber. So amber is fantastic for clearing blockages within the glandular system. And basically what it's bringing up to the surface are emotions that have been suppressed and buried, and that are creating restrictions and limitations within your energy field. So amber came through, and so that would be a great crystal. So both fulgurite and amber would be two crystals that would really support you this month. And you can understand why, because the amber is connecting into those emotions, suppressed emotions, which links into the Pisces and which links into, pulling them up so that you can clear restrictions and limitations that you've felt within yourself. And the fulgurite is that connection to your higher self, to the spiritual realm, so that you can become more of that channel. Also, another energy that came through was all around supporting you to feel more empowered through your ability to interpret messages that have come through from spirit. So sometimes we can feel quite disempowered because we're feeling that we're disconnected to spirit, or if we're getting signs, we're struggling to understand what those signs mean. So with this healing this month, it's just supporting you to understand what the universe is asking you to do, what your next step is, what your higher self is guiding you to do. And as you do that, you're going to become so much stronger in your sense of self, and you're going to become more recognized for who you truly are. And that very much links in with the wolf energy, because the wolf energy, once you connect in more with your higher self and you allow that flow to occur naturally within you, and you're able to voice that and speak your truth in the moment, you become a guiding light for others. But you have to clear your fear of expressing your uniqueness when you're in a group situation, or it could even be, expressing your uniqueness in a one-to-one situation. So wherever that blockage is, those opportunities may well present themselves. And so all the work that's happened, that's occurred within the throat chakra, is going to support you. There's going to be some meditations that I'm going to recommend that you use that's going to support you in the whole of that process. There's also a feeling of self-judgment coming on. So what I thought was going to happen, as you're put in those situations and as you get those triggers, a lot of self-judgment is going to come up. Like, you're going to feel something, you're going to connect something, but then your mental brain is going to say, oh no, I possibly couldn't say that, I'm not sure if that's right. I feel I'm going to be criticized if I say anything. Any of those sort of, whatever it is that you're feeling and you're thinking, you're going to be pushed to release it and clear it in the moment and step out of that comfort zone and express your wisdom. You see, the thing is the only way you're going to get that flow is by doing it. And even though at first it's going to feel a little bit awkward and it's going to feel a little bit, it's not going to be as refined probably as much as you possibly want it to be. But the only way you perfect and refine is by doing. It's the only way. So this month is about you supporting to do that, to step out your comfort zone, speak your wisdom, be that channel for your higher self or for different spiritual realms, whatever's coming through, so that as you do it, you can over time refine it. So it's like doing it is what unblocks it and also creates that flow and also supports you to refine it. So I hope that makes sense. So I really encourage you, any opportunity that presents itself, to just go for it, because it's going to be the only way that you move forward. Now, I know if you're Chiron in Aquarius, that's going to probably push you more, because it's often in those group situations where you get really challenged the most and can get very ungrounded or kind of go aloof. But I really invite you to recognize that in the moment and just clear it in the moment, going forward. And I feel through that whole process, this is how you're going to birth more of those psychic gifts in you, because you create that flow then. Because when you're given something and you're meant to share it and you don't, it's like you create a dam. You create a blockage within you, and then until you clear that blockage, until you actually start to do it and work through it, you just create a backlog and things get really stuck. So it's really important that you keep moving forward with that. I feel really that's pretty much really what this month is about. So we're being really pushed to communicate more, connect with the higher self, be that channel. But at the same time, we've got Mercury Retrograde that is like, in a way, what Mercury Retrograde is doing on an eternal level is showing us where those blocks are. Right? It will come up and it'll become very clear to you. So work with the meditations and the Crystal Merkaba journeys, everything that I'm going to recommend for this month that comes up. And I know that's going to really support you in the anchoring and blossoming of those gifts that are coming through for you. Okay, take care. Bye.